Hi, welcome back to Wellness Wave Radio. Thanks for tuning in this morning to ride the wave with us. Each week our goal is to give you at least one suggestion that will make your life a little better. So my name is Phil George. I'm a clinical biochemist, a certified personal trainer, and a health coach. Everything we discuss in the show is for informational purposes only and should not be taken as medical advice. Another disclaimer here. We have pretty much a lot of upgrades to the studio, and we still have a couple of glitches we're working out. So I normally don't have a computer in front of me. I normally look at a TV and I can see everything that's going on. So Art, the station manager, and myself are going to try to do this, coordinate this stuff together. So I'm going to look at my screen, and hopefully you'll see Phil George, clinical biochemist. Hopefully that's on there. So we're just gonna hope for the best, and hopefully it'll give you a lot of really good information. So again, I'm a clinical biochemist. I'm a certified personal trainer and health coach. I'm on a lot of different media platforms. Obviously, I'm on Lester Cable right now. I'm on Wellness Wave Radio at WCRN. That's a local station out of Boston. Howie Carr's on there. It's a pretty big station. And I'm also on an international company, Dreamvisions 7. They take all of these shows, including this one. They take them out to Dreamvisions 7. They put it on theirs. And that goes out to 1.2 million people. So that's a lot of people. And the other thing, they also put it on YouTube. So if you want to just type in Wellness Wave Radio, on YouTube, all these shows will pull up. But if you want to go to Dreamvision 7, all the shows are listed, and they're listed in the different topics, so you don't have to go through all of them. You can just see. But if you're interested in cholesterol or cancer or whatever, everything is on there. Oh, before I forget, the other thing is we're having a big health booth over at Route 12 Pickleball in West Boylston. I've teamed up with Kelly Hamilton. She's an ICU nurse, and she's also a certified holistic nutritionist. We have a different skill set. I'm basically theoretical, and she's basically clinical. So you can get kind of two parts of it. What we're offering, there's something called the DEXA scan. What a DEXA scan is kind of like an MRI. You go inside of it, but it figures out how much muscle mass you have, how much body fat you have, and gives you a whole bunch of different things. So if you want to know what's going on with your body, I have a good friend, Mark, at the gym. This guy is, he goes exercises every day, and his doctor tells him that he's obese. This guy's no way he's obese. He's got a six-pack. No way he's obese. But they're only going by BMI, which is just a measure of your height divided by your weight, or the reverse. The problem with that is everybody in the NFL now is technically obese. These guys are solid muscle. So you need to know what your body fat is and your muscle mass is. So we do that for you. There's no charge for this, by the way. And we're going to also measure a bunch of other what they call body metrics and kind of give you a score to see how you're doing. If you're young, we have a lot of college kids coming down. We have a lot of older people coming down. So all different demographics. So again, it's at Route. Feel free to email me, philgeorge@charter.net. It's at Route 12 in West Boylston. Route 12. It's called Route 12 Pickle, but it's pickleball, and we'll be there. I have a whole section set off just for health. So again, no cost you. So come on down. Love to meet you guys. So we did Dreamvision 7. There's the health disclaimer again if you want to look at it, but this is not medical advice. This is just informational purposes only, and in my opinion. I like this quote: "From the bitterness of disease, man learns the sweetness of health." If you've ever had a very serious illness, you've probably taken your health for granted. And until you've really been sick and you come out of that sickness, do you really appreciate how important your health is. I have a thing when I do all my seminars. I start off the seminar and I say, you know what, if I could wave a magic wand over you and make all of your illnesses go away, how much would you pay me? I did this one client, his eyes lit up like a Christmas tree. So I'd pay you a lot. Of course, I'm not a magic person. I can't do that, but that's how important your health is. The mafia says your health is everything. So we like to do, as a clinical biochemist, I want to know what's called the root cause of the problem, not just throw a medication at it or a surgery. I want to figure out what the problem is. I want to solve the problem, or I want to solve the problem before the problem dissolves you. So the topic of this is sugar is poison. There's so many studies on this. The problem I have with clients is everybody has a sweet tooth. There's a really good book. It's called Nature Wants Us to Be Fat. We've only lived like this for the last 50, 100 years. Before this, for millions of years, we went for long periods of time without eating anything. So we want to get as many dense calories as we can, kind of like a bear before he hibernates, to build up the reserves, the fat, to get us through the lean season. So that we're hardwired to love sugar. But sugar is basically a poison, and we can get into that in a couple of slides. These are just some of the toxic effects of sugar. It speeds up your aging process, suppresses immunity, disturbs mineral balance, raises your cholesterol and triglycerides, increases the risk of Alzheimer's, diabetes, and hyperglycemia. Hyperglycemia just means your blood sugar's through the roof. Obviously, tooth decay, periodontal disease, coronary heart disease, Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, asthma, arthritis, gallstones, kidney stones, hormonal imbalances, and also, in terms of your appendix. Okay, this is glycation. What glycation is basically, it's kind of cooking yourself from the inside out. So people age, obviously, and some people age a lot better than other people. You can see this woman, what's happening is now she's eating a lot of sugar and it's glycating her. And you can see at the end there, her skin getting more and more glycated. I'm going to get into what glycation is in a second. Glycation is basically sticky. It's basically, it's sticking all of your proteins together. Now, your proteins are in every single part of your body, your skin, your hair, your autoimmune system. And what happens if your proteins actually, they move around. They're like a motor, and they move around. But if you can imagine, like the slide shows, if it's stuck together, they can't work very well. It also ages your skin. So if you're just for vanity reasons, you don't want to be glycated. I like to say glycation is cooking yourself from the inside out. Guys, remember the whole thing with the Super Bowl and stuff when they throw the Gatorade? You can imagine if that's real Gatorade, how sticky he's going to be at the end. And that's, again, that gives you an idea of what glycation is. So when you're having sugar, too much sugar, it's glycating your body. This is actually a medical term. It's called advanced glycation end products. Easy to remember, age. It's going to age you a lot more. So what happens is it's the root cause of inflammation, disease, and aging. The new thing now in terms of any type of, of advanced science is they think sugar is really the root cause of all diseases. The glycation, I shouldn't say sugar. Sugar in moderation at the right time isn't so bad, but if you keep having sugar over and over again, this is what happens. This is why people don't age very well, and they wind up with a lot of arthritis, sticky joints, again, because you got protein everywhere, and also in your different joints, there's protein in there, and they get all stuck together, and that's why you're going to have problems with your hands and things like that. So this is what age, advanced glycation end products. And again, it shows how the skin ages. You can see the skin on the left there, nice and smooth, and then it's getting all crinkled up because it's glycated. So advanced glycation end products, AGEs, what do they do to your body? These are all things you're watching here. Everybody, loves to eat sweets. You go to Dunkin' Donuts, you go here. Again, we're hardwired. Again, I think his name is Richard, I kept the guy's name anyway, the doctor that wrote the book. I read the book, and he talks a lot about this, is we're hardwired to eat sugar. So this is a good example of an AGE. If you have a piece of bread and it's nice and loose and it goes around, but then you cook it, what happens is it gets very stiff. Because also you have carbohydrates in there, and what they're doing, what they're called, they're glycating them, or what's happening is, again, they're denaturing it. It's changing the chemical composition. So just like the toast gets it, or bacon when it's nice in the beginning, but then if you overcook it, it literally snaps. That's what you're doing. That's what you're doing to the inside of your body. Again, here's some more of the AGEs. Brain disorder. It affects your eyes, your blood vessels. So you know about arteriosclerosis, where it gets all clogged up. What happens is the AGEs go inside of what's called your endothelial cells inside of your arteries, and they get them all glycated. They get them all sticky. When they get sticky, you start forming plaque, and the plaque leads to closing of the arteries. So it does that. You have blood vessels in your eyes. all this, your blood vessels, your heart has blood vessels, your kidneys, your nerves, your feet, and it leads to infection. It also can lead to cancer. Too much sugar. Cancer cells love sugar. They absolutely love sugar. So the more you feed, in fact, when I recommend to clients, if they're going through chemotherapy, is try to avoid all sugar as much as possible, because the more sugar you take in, the more the cancer loves it. So what you want to do is, cancer cells love sugar. What they do basically, it's called glycolysis. They love sugar. In fact, what they do if they want to look for a tumor in you, what they'll do is they'll do something called the PET scan. Stands for positron electron. I forgot what it meant. But anyway, I'll look it up later. But it's a PET, PET scan. What they do is they put radioactive isotopes high to sugar, and they put in your body. They can see where it goes. Sugar goes right to the cancer cells. That's why they can figure out where your tumor is by these PET scans. You guys have probably heard of hemoglobin A1C. This is a really good measure of how well you're doing if you're coming down with insulin resistance or type 2 diabetes. People, you've probably heard of a fasting glucose. You wake up in the morning, they take it. But that's only a snapshot of one point in time. Hemoglobin A1C, and I recommend this to all of my patients and my clients. Feel free to email me, philgeorge@charter.net. I can send you out tests I recommend that your doctor does that he may not order. This is one. Hemoglobin A1C, what it says is how much your red blood cells are glycated. How much, we talked about the glycation, over a 3-month period. Your red blood cells, called erythrocytes, what those red blood cells do, and I did when I worked in the lab, clinical biochemist, I did this test over and over again. Your red blood cells only last about 3 months, 90 days. So this A1C gives you a 90-day snapshot of how well you're metabolizing sugar, or if you have too much sugar. So hemoglobin A1C, if you see your doctor and they just order fasting blood sugar, tell them to please do a hemoglobin A1C. And again, email me, philgeorge@charter.net, if you want me to send you over some recommendations. Okay, so that's all the bad news. Let's get to the good news. So here's some ways to maybe not necessarily give up your sweet tooth, but have something sweet, but not have to have all the problem with the glycation. This is something for the last month, 6 weeks, I've never been so excited about something else I can bring to my clients, because my clients are saying, geez, I like the sweet at the end of the meal. I like my desserts. I like this. I like that. And I hate to say, sorry, guys, you're going to have to get over that. My wife has got a wicked sweet tooth, and I'm always trying to get her, getting her out of that. And she's gotten better. But I found a couple of sugar substitutes, but these are natural sugar substitutes. These aren't the things that are making in a lab. These are actually the things that exist in nature. And there's been a lot of research. In fact, I'm seeing more and more of this now on regular TV. They're putting it in products now. So now, guys, you can have your, excuse the pun, your cake and eat it too. In fact, one of my sponsors on my show is New Kitchen, and they're working, and you're putting it in their baking products, in other words. So they don't have to, if you have a cake, instead of putting your insulin through the roof, your blood sugar through the roof, what's happening is you can have a sweet, it tastes just like sugar without any side effects. So feel free to email me, philgeorge@charter.net, because you want to be careful where you get this stuff from. You make sure it's not coming from China or Mexico or some other place. So I have a very trusted sources, and in fact, one of the things I'm trying to get my wife and my family to eat healthy, but they like the sweets. I found this there's like almost like a candy bar, but it doesn't really raise your insulin, your blood sugar. So if you want that, I highly recommend it. I give it to all my clients to try. Once they try it, and my wife's got a wicked sweet tooth, and I'll tell you, she loves this stuff. In fact, I bought tons of boxes of this because my son and my wife munch on this all the time. I feel really good about it. They feel really good about it. Not raising your insulin, not raising your blood sugar. If it does, it's a very minimal amount. So this stuff is good for you. Again, email me, philgeorge@charter.net. And again, I'm so excited about this. Actually, we have 2 options for you that you can take. One of them is glycine, and the other one is allulose. So here we go, glycine, and this is pretty much, it looks like sugar, right? It's pretty much 1 for 1. In other words, if you use a teaspoon of sugar in your coffee, you can use a teaspoon of glycine or allulose in your coffee. So you're going to start seeing this more and more on the mainstream. But again, you've got to be careful where you get this stuff from, because you'll make sure it's not manufactured in some other country. In fact, they're finding out, a lot of people know olive oil is really healthy for you. But the Wall Street Journal did an article on this not that long ago, and they found so many of these are actually polluted. They're polluted with seed oils and stuff like that. So you got to be careful where you get your stuff from. Same with supplements. Email me, philgeorge@charter.net. One of the things I deal with clients a lot is supplements. What is allulose? Okay, guys, so we're going to get into some advanced biochemistry here, so don't be scared. I'm going to try to break this down so it's understandable. Okay, so allulose is what's called a stereoisomer of fructose. Stereo, like, stereos are supposed to mono, like you listen to stereo music. An isomer just means it's two molecules that basically have the same structure, but they're aligned a little bit differently. So fructose, fructose from fruit and high fructose corn syrup and blah, blah, blah. If you can see to the left, the fructose and the allulose to the right, they're almost identical. This is what's called in biochemistry a D-isomer or an L-isomer. That just means that one part of the molecule is more to the left, the other one's more to the right. And that may not seem like a big deal, but it is a big deal because your body metabolizes these two things entirely differently. So allulose tastes pretty much just like fructose because it's really the same molecule. It's configured a different way. So this is a way to get fructose into your diet without raising your blood sugar or your insulin and tasting just as sweet. I know it sounds too good to be true, but it is true. Okay, I'm a biochemist. I can tell you this is true. And again, here we go, a little bit over here. Most naturally occurring sugars, including glucose and fructose, are the D form to the left, and the other ones are the L or the right. Maybe that's reversed. I gotta check that out. I could have gotten that wrong. You guys have probably heard of a GLP-1 agonist, and this is what happened. Ozempic. It's all over the place. Ozempic, right? Ozempic. We're going to do a whole thing on Ozempic at some point, but in fact, the woman I'm working with, Kelly, she's done a whole research thing on this, on Ozempic, and there's a lot of problems with Ozempic. First of all, it's like $1,000 a month. It's a lot of times not covered by insurance. The other thing, it causes a lot of side effects. So the allulose actually also stimulates this GLP. That stands for glucagon-like protein. And what it does is, once it goes into your stomach, it kind of slows down the absorption and makes you feel fuller longer. So the allulose, not only is it going to replace the sugar, the fructose or the glucose, the other thing it's going to do, it's also going to satiate you. It's going to keep you full longer. The problem with the Ozempic is they do massive doses of this. It can cause a lot of stomach upset. And they found out that after a year, the side effects are so bad with people that what they'll do is they'll get off it, but then they go back to 75% of the weight back again. So it doesn't work very well. It may work for a short term, but there's something not as potent as the GLP-1 or the Ozempic, but over a period of time, if you replace your sugar and your fructose with this, over a period of time, you're going to be losing weight and you're going to stay full or satiated longer. So that's allulose. The other one I really like is glycine. And again, a glycine is what they call a non-essential amino acid. It has multiple benefits for inflammation, insomnia, cancer, and actually they've done multiple studies with this. They've actually used it for schizophrenia. So glycine is not actually a sugar, it's an amino acid. You need glycine for so many things. In fact, I just read a study. They think that glycine was the very first amino acid on Earth. They found glycine in meteors, so it's all over the universe. They think the glycine is the building block of life because you need amino acids to make proteins, to build bones and muscle and stuff like that. So glycine is huge. So either of these really work. In fact, you could probably mix and match them, do a little bit of glycine, do a little bit of the allulose, whatever floats your boat. But these are both really, really good. Phenomenal sugar substitutes with any of the side effects of the unnatural, that you've heard about that can cause a lot of problems. So tremendous amount of research on glycine and allulose. I personally like glycine. I'm going to get into that a little bit longer because it has a lot of other benefits. Again, email me, philgeorge@charter.net. What I do with clients a lot of times, what I'll do is I'll send them over a little short YouTube video that goes into the whole thing and explains it. But I'll be happy to send you. If you want to go down a deep rabbit hole, I can send you research articles on this. It's all over the place. This is hardcore science. Love this stuff. Again, haven't been so excited about anything in a long time. Okay, so glycine, it supports skin collagen. Collagen, it basically collagen. You need that basically protein. It's in every part of your body. So in collagen, in order to make collagen, every third molecule of collagen is glycine. So unless you have enough glycine, you can't make collagen. So it counteracts. Maybe we talked about the advanced glycation end products. It counteracts that. So it helps against that. And it increases the antioxidant defense through glutathione. Glutathione is the master antioxidant. Again, a little bit of oxidation. Oxidation just means, like when it rusts. So technically, oxidation is what they call a loss of an electron. So what happens with, in other words, imagine a car and it's sitting in a junkyard and the water's going on it. It's oxidizing. So what happens, it keeps losing electrons. That's why all the metal starts coming apart and you got the rust. So that's what glycation is. It's happening to your body. You're losing electrons and your body's basically rusting from the inside out. And so what it does is it increases the defense through glutathione. Glutathione is the master antioxidant. So remember, we talked before, is when the electrons are coming off and it's oxidizing, it kind of keeps it in place. So that's what glutathione does. It's called the master antioxidant. Helps against cancer, helps against so many things. So you need glycine to do that. It helps with your sleep. If you take, I think it's 3 grams, and I do this every night now. If you take 3 grams of glycine before you go to bed, it helps you sleep. It lowers your body temperature, and it's also good for exercise. It increases, there's something in your brain called GABA, and GABA is like the calming, like the Buddha kind of neurotransmitter. It kind of calms you down. It also, in addition to going against sugar, it also lowers your blood sugar. So if you get trouble, I have clients all the time with high blood sugar. I have this. It also has cardioprotective effects. It's neuroprotective for your brain. It also will protect your liver. I love glycine. It does so many positive things. And again, you're just replacing it. So instead of taking your coffee or tea in the morning, just put in the glycine in there, and it does so many things. So again, the glycine, allulose, fantastic. This goes to the glycine again. So you need 3 grams. 3 grams. Again, it goes into glutathione. You need that 3 grams to go into the collagen turnover to make more collagen. And you need basically 36 grams of collagen. So you need at least 3 grams for each 12 grams of collagen to make collagen. And collagen is really, really important. Your skin, nails, hair, everything. Again, we talked, if you take 3 grams of glycine before bed, it will lower your body temperature and reduce the GABA. So GABA is like the Buddha neurotransmitter. It relaxes you. Okay, they found out glycine supplement, and these are studies, and again, they're listed here. I can send you, these are all the studies. Glycine supplementation extends lifespan of male and female mice, so it's good for both men and women. So it'll extend your life too. Little charts here just shows, I won't get into this, but it just shows in a mouse how many more days it extends it out. So in a mouse, it extends 6% a lifespan. So again, for you, so let me see. let's make the math easy. If you live to be 100, it's going to add 6 years onto your life. You can do whatever math you want on there, but it also helps you live longer. So this is the way it basically works. Not to get too technical, but you have another amino acid called methionine. You need methionine. It is an essential amino acid, but with the methionine, if you have too much of it, it causes a lot of problems. So what glycine does is it counteracts the effects of methionine. So the two kind of work together. They have to be in a certain particular ratio. So dietary glycine supplementation, it mimics lifespan extension of dietary, by extension, the dietary methionine restriction. So again, it's cutting down on the methionine. You do need methionine. It's not a poison, but it counteracts it. And a reduced plasma glycine concentration in healthy and chronically diseased older adults, a marker of visceral, which is your visceral fat. Adiposity, which is basically just means fat. The worst kind of fat you can have is the belly fat because it releases a ton of inflammatory markers. So if you have the typical bear belly or something like that, well, you got the I like to call it the baby bump. I go to the gym just about every day, and it's amazing. I see so many guys there, and they got the muscles and they got the rest of the stuff, but they got the baby bump. And they don't realize what problems that's causing with them. It's causing a lot of inflammation, so they're going to get aches and pains in their joints and things like that. Okay, Glynac. So this is a really interesting molecule. So Glynac stands for glycine, and NAC stands for N-acetylcysteine. And this is a really important. What I'll do is, in fact, you can email me. I get a tub of this stuff, and it's a combination of glycine and NAC. And so when I put this in everything, and I'll show you why. So remember we talked before, glutathione being the master antioxidant. So the precursor, or what goes before the glutathione, is the Glynac. So unless you have the Glynac, you can't make glutathione, which means you can't have the master antioxidant, which shuts down on the oxidation or the rusting of your body. So you need that. Whoop. Okay, and it prevents AGEs. You know what? I may have actually run out of slides. So this is the National Institute of Health, and they've done studies in terms of the life extension benefits of that. This was the actual study, Wang et al., and this is 2019. So you don't want to be eating this stuff, okay? Or if you're a really good baker, you can go ahead, you can make this stuff and make it with either a glycine or allulose. So again, this goes back to the reason why we have such a huge sugar tooth, because when we were cavemen, we woke up in the morning, and you know what? We didn't have any food. You couldn't tell to the wifey, make me some breakfast, because she's going to say, you got to go out and you got to hunt the breakfast. So what would happen is we would go for really, really long periods of time before we would eat anything. We could go days before we killed the woolly mammoth or rabbit or something like that. So our body adapted to burn two types of fuel. One of them is obviously glucose, and the other one is fat. But in fact, on the seminar, on the health booth, we're coming up on this coming Saturday up at Route 12 Pickleball, is we're gonna measure your body fat. Now, guys, contrary to what you may have heard, men and women are different. We have different anatomies. We're hardwired for different things. You may disagree with this, but women are basically hardwired. All females of almost all mammals are hardwired to have children, okay? And men are basically, we're not hardwired to have children, contrary to what you may have heard. So what's happened is with women and with men bodybuilders, and I've trained bodybuilders, they can go down to single digits in body fat. They can go down to 5-6%. They only have 5 or 6% body fat on them. A woman Once she gets below 20%, she's in trouble because it messes up her hormones big time. Because you remember, a woman's anatomy is hardwired to have children. So what happens is, and a woman's their whole hormonal system is entirely different than a man's. So what happens when a woman gets below 20% body fat? What's happening is the body screams, "Whoa!" She says, "I have to cut back on what's happening here." So what happens is, a lot of female athletes, if they train really, really hard, they'll start missing their period. They'll stop ovulating. They go into panic mode at that point in time. In fact, it's interesting, and Kelly, excuse me if I mention you, but Kelly, you know, the girl I'm teaming up with, the ICU nurse, her body fat is really, really low. And I said to her, Kelly, I said, you got to be careful. They have what they call basically maintenance body fat. I said, Kelly, do you know what your body fat is? You got to be careful. You're not going to get too below that 20% range. The other thing, I just talked to another woman, and in fact, I could tell she was really, really thin too. And I said, you know, you got to be really careful about this. So we're coming to the end of the show. If you have any questions, email me, philgeorge@charter.net. And this Saturday, come on down to the booth at Route 12 Pickleball, or email me, philgeorge@charter.net, and I'll send you the directions. Thanks for tuning in. Hope this is helpful. Don't forget allulose and glycine. Email me if you want to know how to get some. Bye. One of the most common questions I'm asked as a biochemist and health coach is, what are the best supplements to take? Choosing supplements is a tricky business. Many companies have poor quality control and questionable ingredients. In the past, I had to send clients to several different websites. I am now able to offer one-stop shopping for all the quality brands I recommend, with no shipping cost and a lower price in most cases. Just email me, philgeorge@charter.net, for a free consult.